Here's just a summary video of my current project. 6.5 kilowatt Kohler field frame generator, the armature there, 120 volts, 6.5 kilowatt. So it's perfect for my bus conversion, which will use I have a 4 kilowatt 120 volt trace engineering inverter charger. So it'll be good for that. It's a hand crank there, oil pump over there, controller is under there. I reworked that, replaced some parts and redid some wiring, got it working, but I'll have to modify it some because this is going to be on a 24 volt battery and that's 12 volts, so we'll have to make some changes. Box parts, cylinder head, all the little stuff's down in there. There's the here's the table of parts. One big problem that came up is these bearings, the number 1 and the number 4 rod bearings. I don't know if this thing will focus, but there it is. They're pretty munched. Number 2 and number 3 are pretty good. Number 1, ouch. The crank bearings, pretty good. Magneto, governor. Haven't really looked much at the pistons yet. I kind of haven't gotten over those bearings yet. And then over here we have the engine proper. Only thing left in it is the valve train, cam, lifters, springs, valves. And then I noticed something else. Let's see if this will show up in the video if I turn it just right. These cylinders have see that groove? Almost, realize we're looking from the bottom, so almost to the top there's that groove in there that, I don't know what to call it besides a groove. Not as obvious in that one. There, look at that one, see it? I'm hoping that shows up, and I'm hoping somebody, well, I guess it is what it is. If it's not tolerable, this project is getting, I don't know where I'd find oversized pistons. It's such a shame. It's only 50 years old, and that's considered obsolete, the world we live in. So anyway, I guess that's that. Got some small parts here. Don't know what else to say. Yeah, those cylinders, I haven't mic'd them yet. The crank mic's pretty good. That center main is kind of right at the minimum diameter for standard bearings, and I haven't plastic gauged anything yet. If I can use those cylinders and if these rings are good. The thing had great compression, more than the specified 110 pounds. It did 120 plus on all cylinders. I almost would have run it, but I'm glad I pulled it apart. This thing isn't going to see a whole lot of hours, but I want it to be reliable, so need to plastic gauge the good bearings. If I can use all the good bearings and just replace those 2, and I don't know how to tell if rings are good or not, other than that the compression is great on the thing. The cylinders look good except for that groove. The cam looks good so far, but I want to pull the lifters and make sure nothing funny is going on with that. It had water in it when I bought it, and the seller demonstrated it ran great, but so it did run, even if not very long, with water mixed in the oil, and I think that's what took out those bearings, because there's no evidence of damage on the crank. It's not like see, there's the number 4, if it'll focus. These have got a little dirty on them now, dusty in the oil, but it's not like a piece of trash went through it. I think it's just, there's a good focus. It's just water is not a lubricant, even when mixed with oil. So anyway, gosh, the generator worked fine. This thing started and ran great. Sounded good. You know, I was really taking it apart just to inspect it more than anything, rather than just put it in service. And like I said, I'm glad I did. So, you know, I guess plastic gauge those bearings and maybe get a. I think I've got some kind of instrument for measuring these bores. I've got to check and see what I've got. It's actually been a long time since I've been this far into an engine, so it's not like I do this every day or even every year. So, but I've been at this hobby for my whole life, so it's not foreign either. But anyway, I'm not going to buy any parts until I evaluate really where I stand, because you know, like if those bores are no good, sleeving would be out of the question cost-wise, I would think, and finding a set of, you know, 10 over pistons, I'm afraid, and rings. I think I might have found some bearings. Actually, I found a site that seems to have a lot of parts, and I'm getting some suggestions from the smokestack also. So, I think some of the parts might be available, but I don't know about oversized pistons. That might be getting, I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, just a little update here. Don't need to ramble on. I think that's all there really is. The water pump looks great. That was mentioned. Somebody said I should rebuild that, and I think the seller said it was rebuilt. This thing, it looks rusty on the outside, but like if you can see inside, look at that shaft is shiny in there. I mean, that's evidence that he was speaking the truth. And I can't really twirl it with one hand, but it feels good. You know, it's not loose or sloppy. It you know, and it wasn't leaking. So I'm going to run propane with gasoline backup, and I'll probably put an electric fuel pump on it. I don't know. I like these mechanicals for originality, but you know, I don't trust them for pumping gasoline into the crankcase when they fail. So the homemade thermostat housing is funny. I don't know why it's missing its original, but there is no thermostat in it, and based on the diagrams, I don't even know if one would fit, but that might not be a problem. I want to recover the heat from the engine and the exhaust in this setup in the bus conversion, and I might end up putting a thermostat somewhere else in the circuit. And so this, I don't know, I wish they'd have made it straight though. I realize why they did that. It makes that fitting point up towards the radiator, but this is going to go under the floor of my bus, so the clearance under there is, well, it's basically going to be, you know, the spark plugs. I want to put right angle spark plug leads on it. That's how close it's going to be. I'm going to leave enough room to change spark plugs without removing the generator, but that's about all the room that'll be above it. So anyway, we'll see.